Onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
Okay, doke. Very good. So we'll just loosen up a little bit. Let's find shoulder width. Do the balance through the body. And take it into the front and back sweep. And take it to the sides. And into rotations. And take it to the open close. Just a little bit mixing in directions, moving freely. Great, good. We'll just take it to a little bit of rotation. We're using the elbows up high, spiraling the way down. Take it up and over to the sides. Circling through the hips. And changing direction. And bend into the knees. And in the separate, working with circles. And change direction. Yeah, bring them together. And a little bit of a tighter circle. Change in direction. Good. Just taking one foot back, lengthening the limbs to the ground. Changing over. Just gently sticking one leg bent, stretching the other. Changing over. A little bit deeper. Changing over. Lengthening both legs back, just bringing the hands level with the chest. Just bringing the hands, bringing the arms above the head. Gently bringing the head towards the ground. Now if it's comfortable, bring the hands around the back, open up the shoulders. And releasing the hands, walking forward, keep the hips back. Think about lengthening the hips away from the hands. And taking the weight into the hands, walking the feet together, the back. And just play with alternating. Lengthening down one heel. And lengthening both legs back. Yeah, walking the hands and feet together. Gently folding the body forwards. And slowly come up to standing. Just do a little bit for the shoulders. Open up to the sides. Just lengthen the arm out to the side. Changing it well. Take it up over the top. Taking the hand up over the back. If you can, bridging the hands together. Just rest it on the back. And release it. Take the other arm up. And taking the hand across the back. Release it. Pull the shoulders out a little bit. A bit forwards. You're going to try and get to a prayer position at the back. You can't just rest the hands onto the back as far as you can get them. You can bring the hands into contact with the neutral spine. You can get to that prayer position at the back, just have a little bit of a tension across the elbows. Press into the hands, take a couple of big deep breaths. So it's a little bit deeper, just taking across if you can get to the bicep, crossing over here. If you can, just take the forearms, and reach up a little bit into the bicep. If you can get to that position, again, just neutral spine, and then just think about gently tension across the elbows, and just gently pulling the elbow back, just open the top of the shoulder, the front of the shoulder. Take a couple of deep breaths. Release it, and then just taking the forearm of one, just drag the shoulder across to the hip. And release it, take it to the other side. Just taking the forearm, a little bit of a drag across. And then clasping the hands at the back. Bring the palms together and then just stretch and open the shoulder. And then just bring the hands around the front, thumb side down. Clasp the hands together, just going to bring the arms up over the top. Keep the shoulders low. Bring them up just as high as comfortable. A bit tricky as you draw them down, start to bring the wrists inside and just take them as far around as you can go. If you can get to the elbows, extending out, really good. And just rest into the position. Slowly release it. Switch the hands over. And same thing, just keeping the shoulders low, back. Bring the arms above the head. Keep the spine as neutral as you can. And slowly coming down, feeding them inside. Trying to lengthen through the elbows. And release it. Just rest out a little bit. You're just going to cross over the palm, cross over the elbow. So you can do this a few ways. If you can reach the palms in contact, the fingers just go in contact with the palms, you can just get as full of around as you can. Again, dropping the shoulders. And then just think about gently lengthening up with the breath. Keep the shoulders as low as you can. Bring it down and lengthen the elbows to the front. And gently entangle them. And take it to the other side. And just wrap around. Keep the shoulders low. Reach up. And bringing the elbows to the chest. Bring the hands up to the front. Release it. shake them out. Release the arms a little bit of an incline with the body. Shake out the legs a little bit. Yeah, flatten the feet, shake a little body. Great. Okay, take a bokken. We will continue with what we were looking at yesterday. Good. Very good. Okay, good. We'll just start with number one. We'll look at. We'll work towards number three today. So we kind of skipped over it yesterday. So we'll just start with number one. Nice, big movements up to the top and cutting in. Big, clear movements for the first suburi. Nice, clear 𝘱𝘭𝘢𝘵. You're just passing right through the center line. You want to use a little bit of feedback on the corner of a wall or a door. Yes, passing through that center line. Good. Great. So we'll take it to number two. So just really focusing on the hip work now. You're changing the hip, drawing the shoulder to the top, touch the spine just before the cut as you step through, landing on the right side, and just give yourself space, coming back into 𝘭𝑰 each time. Just raise up to the top, press through, find the ground with the cut, and sink back into 𝘭𝑰. Yeah, so quite a lot with this movement, the finding the back kind of causes confusion with the movement. So keep it in, because it's a really good tool within the movement to kind of center line the cut, but make it really clear. So one of the confusions can be that I start to pull the sword already kind of back in this position, and then the touch of the spine kind of comes into it. The other one is that I find this position, find the front position, and as I go into the cut, I kind of pull the sword to the back, and then go into the cut this way. So think about this when you go into this position. So rest into this position, and then think about this as, again, you're going to really release the grip to do it. So release the grip into it, and then reseal it into the cut this way. So just play with a kind of relaxed grip as you do it. So it's tricky because if I keep the grip, the same grip that I've got here, as I find the back, the tendency is the shoulders start to pull up out to the ground, and the chest will start to kind of get pulled out as well. And it will pull against the forward motion that I'm trying to initiate. So find that top position, seal into it, and then really just release into it. Find that position, shoulders are still down, and then you can engage into the cut and reseal it. So it's just how the grip's kind of working with it. Later you can remove the touching the spine at all. You don't really need to release the grip so much. But, so again, it's just a nice tool in the spirit, just to kind of center line the cut again, because you're still working 𝘱𝘰𝘦𝘢𝘵 work. But there's a big risk again, it's going to start to create confusion in the posture, either the first posture or just before I go into the cut. There we go, nice. Yes, there you go, great. That's it, nice, very nice. Nice. Good. Good. So we'll look at number 3. We'll just focus a little bit on the body work and the hip work particularly, and then we'll go into the kind of focus of it, which is the breath work. But first through this, just take your time with it. The first move in this now is to pull it through the center line. So you're kind of aligning the bokken to the spine. Let the head just kind of naturally follow it. The gaze can kind of stay forward, but let the head follow the spine in this position. Once you go into this position, you're starting to let the focus really go forward and the head go forward as you're dropping the sword to the spine. Focus on dropping the hips and opening them out to the back. Sword goes to the back, shoulders are open. And then from here, you're not touching the spine, you're just bringing the sword above the head and then into the cut through. So the cut's the same as you would do in the second 𝗧𝗪i in terms of landing the weight. Just the setup for now is different. So you pull up to the top, lengthen up, press down, open the hip, find the back hip with the bokken, orientate the gaze forward, and then you just release it over the top of the head. Nice big explosive movement, but just play with it slowly in this case. Give it a try. We'll bring the breathwork into it, or we'll focus on the breathwork a little bit. If you know it, just follow it. Just a little bit of focus, take your time with these 3 positions really. Nice. Nice. Good.
Michael?
Yeah, sure.
What are the specifics of what your left foot is doing?
Specifics of my left foot.
We can't quite see it.
Left foot. Oh, let me see. Specifics of the left foot. Let's see. So left foot, back foot. First one is just gonna reorientate to the front this way. So you've got that position, and then it's going to open out a little bit more because I want the hips to start to open out. So rather than kind of sticking to that position totally, where you tend to get like a lot of torsion in the inside of the leg. So I allow that foot to be a little bit wider to just follow the hip work, and then from here I'm just going to travel through it this way, and then through into the cut this way. So there's a little bit of, I give the knee a little bit, I give the foot allowance to kind of protect the knee as well, rather than like sticking really to like straight knee position, because And it's just going to kind of create a lot of torsion in the knee, unless I'm really releasing it, which is possible, but it just makes it easy just to open it just a touch, just a very touch here. My interest then is just to open up that back hip, just a touch.
Thank you.
Very good. And I just want to kind of follow the knee, or readjust if you need to at that top position. Yeah. So the tricky part of the movement is this, and the breath work helps with this a little bit later, but just play with this position, so you're at the top position. Now the trick is because the arms have kind of initiated, or they've got to that top position, the tendency for them is to initiate this motion, and then the hips kind of collapse into it, or the hips kind of do nothing as I do this motion. Think about the hips really kind of driving the sword down, so if you think about opening this lengthened connection up through the arms, then let the hips be the control point for this movement. So as the hips draw the sword down, the arm starts kind of initiate through that motion. So draw the sword down from the hip, and then once the hips reach that position, that's the timing for the sword to kind of reach the hip, rather than the sense that the kind of hands come down and then the hips kind of settle. So it's just the focus on the hip work and driving. And it's actually just a releasing motion through the arms, so let the arms settle back down to the hip, but the feels that the hip drives that motion, and then from here you're storing into the hip, and then release out with the hip. So the more I'm kind of connecting the hip work to the hands, the more that third movement can start to express the hip work again, and the hips are kind of springing the sword out, and then dropping it back in. Okay. And it's trying to tie the hips to the tip of the sword in this case, and the arms obviously right in the middle of that. Okay, good. That's okay, nice. Good. That's it, very nice. Very nice. Good, all right. Okay, so as you do it, start to bring the breath work into it. Usually this is done in a kind of explosive way, and it's done generally with a ki-ai, with a kind of shadow. Do a few really slowly with this, and try and keep it with the nose in this case. So I'm just trying to train the breath in this case to follow the motion. You've got the in breath as you come in. So as you breathe in, you're raising up, and that breath reaches all the way up into this motion. Then you pause the breath, contain it down, so there's no kind of breath out to that point. And then from here, this is the breath out, so the breath out kind of leads it all the way through the cut. There'll be a little bit of extra breath at the end of it. Let it out. Take a kind of natural breath in and out. And then you're in an empty, and then you go into full again, so you fill up. You contain the breath down into the belly. And then you release it out here. Let it out, let it out, let it out. And then come back to a neutral breath, or natural breath. Let it out, restart. So just play with it a little bit slower. And again, you're just trying to train the breath. Always the first two motions are going to be done quite slow. The third one can be done a little bit more explosive later, but it's just the focus on just tying the breath work to the movement now. There we go, great. And then next we just explore a little bit of a more of elastic release through the breath now. So keep the first two moves in that kind of slow position. You never really want to do this fast, so this Suburi never becomes a kind of movement where you're going to do this whole motion fast. And when we do use the Suburi, this Suburi in terms of partner work, it's always done in a kind of slow draw into the movement. So take your time with the first, particularly the first movement. Take your time coming down, and then just play with a little bit more of an elastic release coming out. And then you're kind of springing up out of the hip and then pressing again back down. Again, it's got a really emphasis what we were looking at yesterday in this kind of up-down motion that you kind of really train in the first Suburi. It's just much more elastic in this case. And you're really kind of driving the breath through the motion. You get a long draw in, settling the breath into it. And releasing it out with it. And you probably feel the more you take this into an explosive movement, you're probably going to start to need to breathe with the mouth out with it, just to get the breath out a little bit deeper. But if you take it slow, you can do it with the nose breath, obviously. But you probably feel you want to start to take it in through the nose, out through the mouth. Great. Great. Okay, we'll come back to that right to the end, but I'm just going to take it to a simpler form to begin, so we can get a bit deeper. This is looking at a partner form that we'd use with it, which is one of the kind of advanced forms in terms of the system that we've got, but it's got some really interesting hip work movements with it. So what we would do is start with that movement, but we're just going to start like number 2, so it's just to shorten that first part out. So start in this position, you're going to work with a cut through, and then a thrust off the right leg. So we'll just start with a very simple set. Just coming back in this case, cutting in, and then pressing into the thrust, into the right side. So it's just in this case raise up to the top. Use the breath with it as well, so you're still focusing on the breath work as you do it, but it's now just a cut leading into the thrust. We'll take it a little bit into a deeper set. And we'll bring back that story to it. Good. Very good. Great. Good. And then we'll just play a little bit of details with it. In this case, you're going to make this now a 𝘥𝘢𝘦𝘴, and I'm going to bring the body off the line to do it. So rather than straight line through the body and into a 𝘱𝘭𝘠𝘦, what I'm going to do is just angle the body off to the side and just allow it to cut into a 𝘥𝘢𝘴. Okay, so I'm still orientating the body to the line. As I come up, and then as I go off, I'm just going to angle the cut so that it's basically back on the line, and I'm basically going to 𝘥𝘢𝘦𝘴. In this case, the thrust again is still orientated to the original line that I began on, where my partner still is, and the thrust goes straight in. 2 ways you can do the thrust. You can do this with a rotation, just like a normal rotation we do the Suburi. You can also start to angle the blade up, which is also like a nice one to just play with. Sometimes you'll see this form. If you watch some of the early videos or photos, but you've got a 𝘥𝘢𝘦 now, and then you've got a 𝑠𝑘𝑖 coming off the front side. And again, you can either angle the blade up, or you can just let it go to that kind of neutral position, the normal position that we generally go to, in which case the blade is pointing to the left, your left. So Yokomen on the right, and it's a ski on the right. Yeah, go ahead. Good. And then we'll just take it a little bit deeper again. This time you're going to add a left side Yokomen. So you're coming up to the top in the same way, coming off to the right, thrusting on the right side, and then using that right leg as the base, roll the body all the way over, and then you're striking into a Yokomen. Finish the cut in this one, so there's a little bit of a difference later, but for now, just play with landing that cut. So you're going in Yokomen on the right, ski on the right, and then let the whole body change over. You're cutting onto a Yokomen this way. Later, this will kind of stop at the head, and then I kind of add an extra move to it. But for now, just play with landing the left side Yokomen. Right side Yokomen, ski, left side Yokomen. Before we finish here. Nice. Nice, great. Okay, next one. It's quite a strange position, but the point of this position, once I've done this, in this case I've got the left side Yokomen. I'm just going to pause at the top of the head in this case. I'm not completing the cut. I'm just going to finish at the top of the head. Now from here, the position is to block the person basically coming back onto my body. So what I do is open the back hip and I drop the sword down into this position. The idea with this is if the person's sword was here, that they couldn't cut back onto the body, so it's basically creating a trap for the person. They basically need to try and get around it. So in this form, just focus on the hip work with this, but it's coming here, here, thrust, change to the left. You just pause at the top of the head, and then from here the hip's going to engage the sword down, and I go into this position here. And so the sword I want just basically covering the body. So if you imagine you've got a person whose sword is basically cutting in this angle, I basically want to create a block and protect the body this way. What's also nice when it's going to start to torsion the hip. And so you've got this motion coming in. Okay, and again, it's the sword, the tip of the sword being guided by the hip. Okay, as in all the movements. So you've got the hip drives the tip, hip, and then the hip opens it out this way. Nice. Nice. Good. And then the final move with this is just releasing that movement. So you've got the left side, you're in this position, the hips are kind of sprung, and then you're just going to change the hip, roll the tip of the sword up, and you finish in this position. Okay? So this form finishes rather than with a kind of finish in terms of a kill, it's finishing with a control at the top. Okay? So in this case, once you finish the Yokomen, you drop in to this position, you just release, again try and get the hip to drive the tip of the sword out, and you finish in this extended position out. And it's just in a controlled position there, so the full set would be coming back. Doing the Yokomen on the right, ski on the right, Yokomen on the left, just force it at the head, dropping the sword in, and releasing up to the top, the extension. Good, very nice, really nice. Great. Okay, and then bring in the 𝗧𝗪i that we did at the beginning. In terms of this form, rather than drawing back with that first movement, what you're going to do is just bring the feet together. The 𝗧𝗪i, basically, the partner practice in this case starts with the two people based on either end. There's another form for the attacking side, but it's basically starting with a distance, and you're basically closing the distance in. So all the motions of the form basically close in with this. So there's no kind of movement where I can pull back with this form. It's basically just a constant pressing in with it. So what that means with the footwork here, so rather than step back with the right leg, I just bring the left foot in to the right. So the left foot comes in as I raise, and then I bring the right foot back. So you're basically just doing that on the spot, and then you come down to that position. And then the rest of this form is the same. So you're cutting out to the right side, your 𝘭𝘪𝘢𝘵, right side 𝘬𝑰, and left side your 𝘭𝘪𝘢, drop the sword to the side, and then you'll roll it up to the top. So the first you just take your time with it. Later this all becomes one kind of breath with it, but take your time now, establishing that 𝗧𝗪i pattern in, draining down, pressing out of the ground, thrusting in, your 𝘭𝘪𝘢 protect, and finishing at the top. That's very good. Okie dokie. We're just going to finish just 2 or 1 minutes with this one. This is what comes from a lot of the misogi rituals with it. Follows the same breathwork pattern. It's just one without the sword. In this case, it's a breath in which goes up to the top. You meet up with that extension. You bring the hands down to the center. You clasp them together. Leave a little bit of space in the hands like you're trying to blow into them. And then what you do with the breath out is basically shake out with it. So again, it's just trying to create a strong connection from the core of the body to the hands. Where you'll kind of lose this one is if I start to kind of shake the hands out and the center really does nothing or gets kind of left behind with it. So what you're trying to do is with the breath in, just do this in your own pace, use your own breath with it as the pattern. So you breathe in, reach at the top, and then this is just sealing the hands in. Let the breath settle into the belly, and then you're trying to generate a movement here with the out breath. And you're trying to let it pulse into the hands. Let it out. When the breath kind of goes, start the pattern again, so you release the arms. Breathe in, seal the hands, bring the breath down. You're just trying to generate the movement from the core of the body. And you're just following the breath with this one. That's it. Good. Good. And lastly, just take a few deep breaths with it. So if you bring the hands up this one, you're just going to bring like palm up, and then just let them drop down into the body. Just scooping them up, palm up. And again, let it settle down. And then let the arms settle to the other side. Very good. Great. We will stop right there. Very good. Right. Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Okie dokie. Great. Thank you very much.